Thanks for checking out this third episode of Things I Hear on the Misophonia Without Borders channel. And that's a lot of hand gestures. I'm John, but you can call me Smooter. And before we get this thing rolling, I want to let you know that I'll do my best not to make any triggering noises or gestures. And for you folks who get triggered by descriptions of triggers, well, trigger descriptions may occur during the stream, but when that happens, Doug is going to place this little trigger description alert sign over my head. There it is. And he's going to place it there a few seconds before so that you know to mute me if you need to. And when the sign disappears, you can unmute me. We also need to make sure you know that the Misophonia Without Borders channel, this show, and I do not make any claim to have a cure for misophonia, nor do we offer any type of medical treatment for misophonia or any other medical condition. I'm just a guy with misophonia, and I'm here to talk about it. That said, today I'm going to share how this all started for me. Doug, sorry, I didn't mean to leave you out. People have been asking me about you, Doug. How you doing? Cool. Me too. All right, let's roll. So anyway, for me, misophonia first reared its ugly head in the 1980s. That's right, the 80s, which was otherwise a great time to be alive. I was just a high school kid in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I had a moped or two and later went through a few cars, played video games at the local arcade, and spent much of my time listening to the likes of Ozzy Osbourne, Def Leppard, Judas Priest, and Hall and Oates. Really, Doug? Really? A bad accent alert? Come on. My bad accents are legendary. You suck, dude. Let me deviate for a second. I'm sure that's a big shock that I would deviate, right? I want to talk about the music and misophonia thing for a minute. Misophonia, and we'll get more into this later, but basically misophonia means hatred of sound. And while I'm glad that the condition has a name for which it is being researched and explored and discussed, and awareness is being increased, which is part of what this show is about. But the name misophonia, I don't like that meaning, hatred of sound, because that's not exactly or entirely true of all misophones. People who have misophonia. I think it's more accurate to say that people with misophonia feel assaulted by certain sounds. There are plenty of sounds that I believe most of us still like, and for some of us, or probably most of us, I'm going to guess, that would include some form of music. Now, for me, I'm into a little bit of all kinds of music, but mostly I'm a classic rock and heavy metal guy. And actually, if I'm going in order, I'm probably saying that backwards. I'm more of a heavy metal and classic rock guy. But yeah, Hall & Oates is my favorite band. Topic for another time because they're neither hard rock nor heavy metal, but they are rock. Anyway, point is, there are plenty of sounds in this world that most people with misophonia do like, sounds that are comforting, calming. It could be music. It could be metal, which I know for some of you would actually be a trigger. For some people, it may be country music. Again, that could be a trigger for someone. Opera could be a trigger for someone, but it can also be a very pleasant sounds for people with misophonia. Nice alternative to hear those things instead of the things that trigger us. So I just wanted to push that little possible misconception some of you who are new to the topic might be having aside. We can listen to music we like, okay? But in contrast, I hate to admit this, that there are certain sounds in music and some songs that I've been noticing lately, especially through headphones, that are starting to become a problem for me. It's not a lot of them, but it happens every now and then, and it mostly has to do with percussion, basically drums and such, certain ones, not all of them. So hopefully that's not something that will grow for me, because I'd like to listen to music for the rest of my life. So back to topic again. It started somewhere between the ages of 15 and 17 for me. I can't really narrow it down much better than that. Maybe to say more like between 16 and 17, but I'm not sure it didn't happen between 15 and 16. That's how gradual it was. And the way it came about, Doug, I hope you've got those trigger alert warnings ready, the trigger description alert warnings. I'm just going to say it. It started with the gum. And I didn't know what it was at first. It just kind of slowly happened. I started to get really bothered by the sound of people who chewed their gum with their mouths open. And when they started to do more with it, like, the popping and blowing the bubbles and stuff, and it just gradually became a problem. And I just thought it was because I just thought it was bad manners, but the fact is, I used to do those same things myself. I mean, not around the house, but I still sometimes joke that misophonia is God's um, payback on me for some torture I put my teachers through because I could do some things with gum that made their lives a little miserable, you know. And when I was growing up, gum was not allowed in school. And a lot of us would chew it anyway, myself included. And sometimes I'd get caught, and the teacher would uh, inspect my mouth because they could get away with more back then than they could. You know, they open your mouth, let me look. You know, maybe even jam a finger in there or something. And gosh, I hope they wash their hands. And I could actually hide my gum where they couldn't find it. And then they'd turn around and walk away. And in front of the whole class, I'd just start chewing again, and people laugh. And they turn around, "Where's that gum? I know you've got it." They'd never find it. So maybe this was payback for that, or maybe it was payback for let's see, a sophomore year. I had a girlfriend that I used to buy gum for all the time, and I wasn't supposed to. She wasn't supposed to have gum. I can't remember if she had braces or what it was, but maybe it was a payback for that. Anyway, gum became very difficult for me to hear other people, and so eventually, over time, that got worse. And I just remember thinking, it's just bad manners. Why is this bothering me so much? It didn't bother me like this before. I'm becoming so much more sensitive to it. And then it expanded to where it wasn't just gum, it was pretty much any open mouth eating noises. And I will say that sometimes it was some relatives that would trigger me. And I'm not out to say who. I know that some people will talk about that pretty openly out, but you know, the people that triggered me the most when I was youngest in my family are actually some of my biggest supporters now that we know what this is. They've been very good to me and very supportive, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. I have a great family, and I know a lot of Misophones have great families like mine, but not everyone gets that same support when it comes to Misophonia. So I know I'm blessed. And as mentioned before in other episodes, people like Dr. Marsha Johnson basically discovered Misophonia around 15 years or so after mine started to develop. And it was going to be about another 15 years before I'd find out about that. So, yeah, about 30 years with Misophonia before I knew what it was. What did I do with all that time? I'll tell you later. So, from now till November, I'm going to keep plugging this year's Misophonia convention. Chuck Norris is going to be there demonstrating his Misophonia coping method. Doug, if you don't quit screwing with the script, we're going to get in a lot of trouble. And I mean a lot of trouble. So, no, again, folks, I'm sorry. No Chuck Norris at the convention, at least not as far as I know. But we do have a special celebrity guest who, much like Chuck Norris, he or she also kicks some serious butt. I'm trying to keep it family friendly, and you don't want to miss it. Links to the convention info and convention registration are in the video details below. I'm doing my William Shatner impersonation, as well as links to the Misophonia Association website and a well-written article on the Medical News Today website that gives a very clear introduction to misophonia. Again, thanks for tuning in to Things I Hear, number 3 on the Misophonia Without Borders channel. Please don't forget to like this vid, subscribe to the Misophonia Without Borders channel, and tell a friend, because all the cool kids are doing it. Oh, I almost forgot one more thing. What? Shut up, Doug.